In the bustling chaos of JFK Airport, where dreams collided with delays and weary travelers dragged their lives in suitcases, Elena stood frozen amidst the swarm, her heart slamming against her ribs like a caged bird desperate to escape. It had been a grueling day, no, a grueling life, of scraping by on minimum wage shifts at a dingy diner, her hands raw from scrubbing plates and her back aching from carrying the weight of the world as a single mother to her 5-year-old son, Tommy, who clung to her leg now, his wide eyes scanning the crowd for something, anything, to distract from the hunger gnawing at his belly. They were there not for a vacation or a reunion, but because Elena had scraped together just enough for a bus ticket back to her sister's place in Ohio after losing their tiny apartment to eviction. The airport was merely a layover pit stop, a place to charge her dying phone and beg for free Wi-Fi. And then, like a ghost from a forgotten dream materializing in the harsh fluorescent lights, she saw him, Alex, her first love from high school, the boy who had promised her forever under the stars of their small-town nights, now striding through the terminal with an effortless confidence that screamed success, though she didn't know yet that he was the CEO of a tech empire worth millions, his tailored suit hiding the scars of a past they once shared. Their eyes locked for a split second, and in that moment, the years melted away, pulling her back into a whirlwind of what-ifs and heartbreaks, her breath catching as he paused, recognition dawning on his face like the first light of dawn piercing through storm clouds. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances that can rewrite even the most broken stories, hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your own tale of unexpected reunions, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that life can surprise us, and don't forget to subscribe to Moments of Love for more heartwarming narratives that touch the soul. Elena's life hadn't always been this tapestry of exhaustion and quiet desperation. Once, in the sun-drenched fields of rural Pennsylvania, she had been a girl full of fire and ambition, dreaming of becoming a teacher while stealing kisses with Alex behind the old barn where fireflies danced like living stars. They were inseparable back then, two souls intertwined in the innocence of youth, planning a future where they would escape the confines of their sleepy town together, he with his brilliant mind for inventions, she with her nurturing heart that could heal any wound. But life, that cruel architect of fate, had other plans. Alex's family moved away abruptly after his father's job loss, tearing them apart without warning, leaving Elena with a shattered heart and a promise ring that she still kept hidden in a drawer, tarnished but unbroken. She moved on, or tried to, falling into a hasty marriage with a man who promised stability but delivered only disappointment, a union that crumbled under the weight of his addictions and abandonment, leaving her alone with a newborn Tommy and a mountain of debts that grew like weeds in neglected soil. Now, at 32, Elena's days blurred into a relentless cycle of survival, waking before dawn to bundle Tommy off to a subsidized daycare that smelled of crayons and despair, then enduring the leers and low tips at the diner where her uniform clung to her sweat-soaked skin, her dreams of education long buried under bills and broken promises. Tommy, with his mop of curly hair and eyes that mirrored her own weary resolve, was her anchor and her ache. He asked questions she couldn't answer, like why they couldn't afford ice cream or why Daddy never came back, and each night she held him close in their cramped shelter bed, whispering stories of better tomorrows while stifling her own sobs so he wouldn't hear the cracks in her voice. The airport encounter unfolded like a scene from a movie she could never afford to watch, slow and surreal amid the hurried announcements of delayed flights and the scent of overpriced coffee wafting from nearby stalls. Alex approached her tentatively, his polished shoes clicking against the tile floor, a far cry from the scuffed sneakers he wore when they last parted ways 15 years ago. He called her name softly, and though there was no dialogue exchanged in that initial gaze, the air thickened with unspoken histories, the laughter of stolen picnics, the tears of their goodbye, the paths that diverged like rivers splitting in a storm. Elena's mind raced. She felt exposed in her threadbare coat and scuffed boots, Tommy tugging at her hand, oblivious to the storm brewing in her chest. Alex, unaware that she saw him as the boy who got away rather than the mogul featured in business magazines, knelt down to Tommy's level with a gentle smile that stirred memories of his kindness, offering a candy bar from his pocket that the child accepted with wide-eyed wonder. They sat at a nearby bench, the terminal's hum fading into a distant roar as Elena shared fragments of her life. The divorce, the endless jobs, the fear that Tommy would grow up knowing only hardship, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the vulnerability she hid from the world. Alex listened, his successful facade cracking just enough to reveal the loneliness that wealth couldn't fill, though he held back the truth of his empire, not wanting to overwhelm her with the chasm that time had carved between them. As the hours ticked by in that unexpected limbo, suspense built like a gathering thundercloud, Elena's heart oscillating between hope and hesitation, she wondered if this was a cruel twist of fate or a lifeline thrown across the years. Tommy dozed against her shoulder, his small breaths a rhythmic reminder of her responsibilities, while Alex subtly arranged for food from a nearby vendor, insisting it was nothing when she protested, his gestures laced with a quiet generosity that echoed the boy she once loved. Yet beneath the surface, Alina's struggles loomed large. Flashbacks invaded her thoughts, vivid scenes of nights spent counting pennies under flickering kitchen lights, of Tommy's feverish cries when she couldn't afford medicine, of the soul-crushing rejection from job after job that deemed her overqualified for entry-level but underexperienced for anything better. She confided in veiled terms about the eviction notice that had forced this desperate journey, her sister's couch their only refuge, and Alex's eyes darkened with empathy, though he refrained from revealing his own ascent from rags to riches, built on a startup that revolutionized renewable energy tech, turning him into a millionaire CEO whose boardrooms overlooked city skylines. The tension mounted as boarding calls echoed, Elena torn between lingering in this bubble of nostalgia and fleeing back to her reality, fearing that reopening old wounds would only deepen her pain. Change whispered in like a gentle breeze, subtle at first, as Alex slipped her his business card, not the flashy one with his CEO title, but a simple one with just his name and number, urging her to call if she ever needed anything, his words carrying an undercurrent of unresolved affection that made her pulse quicken. Back in Ohio, settled uneasily on her sister's pull-out sofa, Alina's life continued its grind, but now with a spark of possibility. Late nights found her staring at that card under the dim lamp, memories flooding back of Alex's inventions in their garage hideout, how he always believed in her potential even when she doubted herself. Weeks turned into tentative texts, messages that started with reminiscences and evolved into deeper confessions, her sharing the isolation of single parenthood, the way Tommy's laughter was her only light in dark days, him opening up about the hollow victories of success, the relationships that fizzled because no one understood the boy from the small town still inside the tycoon. Suspense coiled tighter when Alex visited under the guise of a business trip nearby, arriving in a modest rental car to mask his wealth, helping Tommy build a fort from cardboard boxes in the backyard, his laughter mingling with the child's in a way that thawed Alina's guarded heart. Challenges persisted. Alina's pride clashed with her needs when she discovered a mysterious deposit in her account, enough to cover rent for months, traced back to Alex, forcing a confrontation where emotions spilled like rain from overcast skies, her anger at his pity melting into gratitude as he revealed his story, not as a boast but as a bridge to show he understood struggle intimately. The revelation hit like a crescendo in a symphony, Elena learning of Alex's millionaire status not through tabloids but in a quiet moment on her sister's porch, fireflies flickering as he described clawing his way up from poverty after his family's relocation, inventing a device that harnessed solar power for remote villages, building an empire that employed thousands but left him yearning for the authenticity of their lost love. Emotion swelled as she processed this, tears tracing paths down her cheeks, not from overwhelm, but from the realization that he saw her not as a charity case, but as the strong woman who had inspired him all those years ago. Their reconnection deepened, paced with the rhythm of real life, Alex funding Tommy's education subtly through scholarships he happened upon, Elena pursuing night classes toward her teaching degree with his encouragement, their bond rekindling in stolen weekends where they walked hand in hand through parks, sharing dreams anew. Struggles didn't vanish overnight. There were moments of doubt, when Elena feared the class divide would swallow them, or when Tommy's innocent questions about Uncle Alex stirred old insecurities, but each hurdle built their resilience, turning pain into purpose. As months unfolded, cinematic vignettes painted their journey. Elena's first day in a classroom as a student teacher, her face alight with fulfillment, Tommy's birthday party in a real home, laughter echoing off walls they now called their own, Alex stepping away from board meetings to prioritize family, his empire thriving under delegated hands while his heart found home in theirs. In the end, under the same starry sky that witnessed their youthful promises, Alex proposed not with diamonds that screamed wealth, but with the restored promise ring from their past, kneeling in the field where it all began, their lives intertwining in a tapestry of redemption and love that proved second chances weren't myths but miracles waiting for the brave. Elena, no longer the struggling single mom but a woman reclaimed by hope, looked into his eyes and saw not the CEO, but the boy who had always been her anchor, their family complete with Tommy's joyful cheers. The story of their reunion became a beacon, inspiring those around them to believe in the unexpected twists that fate could offer, leaving hearts mended and futures brightened. If this tale of love rediscovered and lives transformed has touched your heart in any way, please show it some love by liking, commenting your thoughts, sharing with friends who need inspiration, and subscribing to Moments of Love. Your engagement means the world and helps spread these emotional journeys further. Before we wrap up, I'd love for you to comment below with the line, "Second chances are real." Share your story,